So my name's Keith Glasspoole. I'm, as John mentioned earlier on, I'm from the advertising research specialism within Ipsos. And what I'm going to talk about is hear about how the different platforms available from media owners give different opportunities to advertisers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the advertisers themselves can take advantage of those through their creative and through their use of media. Because, as we've seen, consumers do engage with different media in different ways. And so there are opportunities, different opportunities, which advertisers can take advantage of. We can find out about this through traditional survey research. We can also find out about it these days through biometrics. And what biometrics is hooking people up through a band around their chest and through a sensor on the finger, so that we can understand the truly unconscious physical reactions that people have to different stimulus, whether it's advertising, media, packaging, whatever it is that you want to put in front of them. So through those sensors, we can pick up heart rate, we can pick up rate of breathing, we can pick up the extent to which your fingers, sweat appears on your fingers, we can pick up whether you're leaning forward, leaning back, we can combine it with eye tracking so we can see what you're actually looking at, what you're actually paying attention to. And if we think about media first, leaving advertising aside for a moment, but if you think about how people biometrically engage, if you like, with media, we can put two continuums here: cognition on the left, emotional on the bottom, broadly speaking, whether it makes you think and whether it makes you feel. And what biometrics will tell us is that print is a relatively cognitive media. I'll come back later on into where sort of digital fits onto this spectrum. But let's for a moment focus on print. So being cognitive does bring certain advantages. Sarah touched earlier on about the physicality and people appreciating the fact it's something concrete that you can hold. So we have a point at the bottom there. So print advertising can be cut out and kept. Also, being cognitive brings the advantages of being able to get across more detailed and complex messages, which might not otherwise be retained. And it can be perceived as more real. We also saw that touched on in Sarah's paper. There's a sense to which it might be more intrinsically believable. So it does bring advantages, and so which means that it can punch its weight, or more than punch its weight, in the context of the brand impact that it can achieve within a mixed media campaign. What this chart shows is if you like, a meta-analysis of combining a range of studies where we've assessed the relative brand impact of different media, above the line, below the line, bringing in product performance and so forth. And what it tells you on the media side is that relative to TV and to digital media, print advertising punches its weight, but with the caveat that it does so once it is noticed. Okay, so you still have the challenge of getting that immediate cut through and getting that immediate noticeability. Which is where the creative research side of things comes into it. So whilst print can be more cognitive, you still only have that very brief window in order to grab the reader's attention. I hesitate to call them rules in terms of creative, because everybody knows the best advertising can break a lot of the rules, although it will rarely break all of them. But a few learnings from our database in terms of print advertising, how to generate cut through: be striking, deliver the message visually, keep it simple. People don't really want to have to work too hard to interpret your advertising. If they do, they often won't. And obviously, don't forget the brand. The single most common reason why advertising doesn't work in market is because people see it but they don't know who it's for. So we have an example here of a good example of something which is ticking all those boxes. So that's print. Moving on to digital. What do we mean by digital anyway in the advertising context? I'm quite amused in creating this chart that it includes the word traditional on it for something which has only been around for a few years. But we might mean traditional banners. These days we might mean online video, branded content, social media, blah, 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 blah. Let's for a moment stay on the traditional side, online display. But for many of the learnings in terms of creative for print also apply to online display, in the sense that it's another visual media which is processed at a glance, and you only have that very brief window in order to grab the attention. We know that around 20% of page views last less than 5 seconds, And we also know this is an example of eye tracking. Okay, so the heat map there is where people are actually looking at on a page, in this case YouTube. But we know that ads can easily be ignored because people are there to engage with the content. And so your advertising is competing for attention with that content. There's a need to engage consumers before they navigate away. In terms of branding, part of that getting that attention is to get the brand across. Traditional learning on print would have you putting the logo on the bottom right. For display, it's more about the top and centre, thinking particularly about MPU formats. Obviously, this has a lot to do with position on the page and the necessity or otherwise to scroll down. But moving on from traditional to the power of rich media within digital formats, what we know about rich media within digital is that it can improve the capacity that advertisers have to tell stories about their brand. What this chart shows is taking as an index of 100 the brand response of traditional display advertising. Where it's rich media, it gets factored up. When it's rich media including video, it gets factored up significantly. So that can improve the storytelling power. And if you improve the storytelling power of advertising, you improve the emotive power of advertising, which is what can really help to build brands. Again, here we're comparing ads with high emotive power to ads with low emotive power, and the very evident resultant impact on brand response where you get that power. But there is a double-edged sword here, which is that there is a lot of variability in quality, and it's also to do with there being a lot of variability in expectation. We saw earlier on some comments in Claire's presentations about people's expectations of the relevance of the advertising to be there. What this chart shows is taking a particular measure. We've looked at entertainment value, but we could have chosen a whole range of potential measures, and looking at the variability first for TV advertising against the average, and then the range between the best performing and worst performing ads, and then looking at the digital with video. So there is potential greater payoff. We saw that with the example of the price of the suit. Okay, but there's also a threat as well. If you like, if people are going to actively choose to interact with the advertising, it needs to be worth interacting with. It needs to bring the reward for people having given it that extra level of engagement. So, going back to our cognition and emotion continuums, where do different online formats fit in? Well, they offer different opportunities, and here, looking at online video in particular, bringing us more around the scale towards emotion. It offers different opportunities to print. It also offers different opportunities to TV, in the sense that people engage with media in different ways. Their expectations are different. Their behaviours are different online. What that chart on the right with the red and blue is an example of biometrics. So I referred to biometrics earlier on. This is an example of biometric engagement output, where the red line is the extent to which people are engaging with the same piece of creative on YouTube relative to TV. So you can see that level of engagement is higher to begin with on YouTube, but it also drops off a lot faster, potentially. That disengagement can happen faster. So it does show that first few seconds with the video format as well is very important online. And the same ad, different formats, different results. And all this goes to show is, here about content being king. The theme that we talk about in advertising research is, whatever the medium, you consistently find that the most important driver of success is the quality of the creative. Content is king, creative is king in the context of advertising. And so whilst the formats will continue to evolve, mobile, interactive video, tablets, something else that hasn't been invented yet, the formats might continue to evolve. The fundamental business need for the advertiser will not, in a sense that they need to cut through, be linked to the brand, and generate the brand desire. Even if the journey that they go on to achieve that end isn't always a straight line as much as it used to be. So combining the paying for media space to the earning extra media space, if you like, through sharing, through linking into your owned media space with your as an advertiser, your website, your fan page, your apps, and so forth. But formats may change. Fundamental business need will remain relatively consistent. So the implications of all this for advertisers and people trying to sell in advertising space: play to the strengths of different media, understand what the strengths of different media are and play to them. Be aware, for example, that print is more cognitive, but does need to get the attention first, and ways which you can get the attention are through being striking use of visual imagery, keeping things simple, not forgetting the brand. Incorporating rich media, interactive formats can bring more emotive power, but you still have to get that engagement. That is still critical, and that level of interactivity has to be worth interacting with. So creative is king, and it is worth investing in the time and effort in getting it right. And there are purveyors of advertising research which can help you to do that as an advertiser. Thank you.